mixed feelings about where my room is located because I just realized I can smell what my mom is cooking for dinner. I don't know if it's leftover turkey and stuff or if she's cooking something else, but it smells really good. But I also have the problem is because it's near the kitchen. My mom can hear me. And of course, sometimes when she needs to call me for dinner, I have my TV on and I'm playing a booktube video or something, and sometimes I can't hear them calling me. But then there are times like I'm watching a movie, or a TV show, and I get an emotional reaction to something, like I'm like, don't do that, or no, why? Or you're or that person's an idiot, and then my mom and dad hear me, and then they freak out because they think I'm upset about something. Because I am a very emotional person. So, okay, so I'm now here to talk about my November wrap up. The month is not over technically, so I'm still reading books. I'm trying to squeeze in one more book, which is actually dang it. At least the bookmark didn't fall out. At least not completely anyway. And that is The Memory Keeper's Daughter. I'm actually trying to a while back, our neighbors gave me a bunch of books. And, not that they're not, I'm sure that they're great books, but of course, because I'm a bit of an impulsive shopper, so I buy a lot of books. And, unless I buy my own shelf, my mom is like, I'm not going to buy you another shelf. Although I could now. It might be a while before it happens. I do have another shelf in my room, but it's where all of our DVDs are going. That's where we kept all of our DVDs. Because I'm really the only one who watches them. There's some on there that I probably don't really watch, and some of the ones that belong to my, and some of them I did give to my dad. They're movies I enjoyed too, but they're more for my dad. Like I Love You Man, for instance, or Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Those are two of my dad's favorite movies. And my copies I gave to him. Although I love those movies too, which I recommend them. They are hilarious movies, they have they're kind of guy humor, but not that gross guy humor. Although, yeah, it is a little bit of that, but I feel, at least for me anyway, I feel like they're great. The movies are, So anyway, this is one of the books he gave me. So I'm trying to read all the books that he gave me and then donate them to the bookstore so I don't have so many books on my shelf. And I have room for new books. Although it doesn't look good right now, but that's partly because all my books that I want to try to get to, or I'm considering, or I need to get to in the next few months. Whether I get to them in November or not, that probably won't happen. But anyway, so I've only started this. Originally, I was going to read The Diary of Ellen Rimbauer, My Life at Rose Red, but then I decided that, I'm just not into that book. I liked it when I read it, but it's just I didn't have an urge to read, and I wasn't excited, and I felt like I need to donate some of my books, start donating books, and it's gotten really, at this point, it's gotten, really hard to get rid of some of my books. So I decided to, I'm not going to read that one. I'm just going to donate it to the bookstore. It's not technically Stephen King. It's just connected to one of Stephen King's screenplays. Which is Rose Red, by the way. So I decided to start this one instead, which is basically about this doctor, so far from what I read, it's like this doctor, his wife is pregnant, he ends up having to, during a snowstorm, he ends up having to deliver his own child, and then it turns out that the children are fraternal twins, but he realizes, that his daughter, the girl baby, has Down syndrome, and usually a kid because this book, when the baby's born, it's in 1964, so I guess they didn't understand how Down syndrome worked, and they didn't have the way to make, so then, the man he had a sister who had Down syndrome who died when she was really young, so he doesn't want to do this to his wife. So he decides to have the nurse give the baby to, without the woman, his wife, knowing, the nurse to give the baby to an institute. But it turns out the nurse can't do it. She can't bring herself to do it. She keeps the baby. And the doctor tells his wife, Dr. David Henry. Dr. Henry tells his wife that the baby, that they did have a daughter, but she died. And that's as far as I got. And so, like, I don't like reading contemporary YA, but I will read adult contemporary. Not always, but sometimes. Some of the dramas are really interesting and really good. Like, I have Big Little Lies. That was one of the books that they gave us I'm going to read as well at some point. So I'm in the middle of this. I probably won't get this done by the end of the month, so unless I read a lot nonstop, and that won't happen. Because as much as I love reading, I can't do that. I can't read like all day, 24 hours. I can't do it. Okay, so let me get to the ones that I finished first before I show you that one. So I decided to make November Novella Month. I was gonna read a few other novellas. The one I actually just put aside is a novella that I want to read, but the short stories or the little novellas are a lot longer than I expected. So I only was able to get to this, and I also wanted to participate in what is it? Nonfiction November. What was the other? I read 2 nonfictions. Let me see. I read 2 nonfictions this month. Where's the other one? I'm looking through my bullet journal. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, I'll get to that and I'll explain in a minute. So I have been wanting to read this, and when I had it for a long time, and I started to read it, and as soon as I started, I wanted to go out to Books-A-Million and buy the series. The good news is that, yes, there's a used bookstore, and there's a country bookstore, a little small independent bookshop that, but the problem with that is they don't always have Books-A-Million and Barnes & Noble, and when Borders they always would have multiple copies of books like this, even if it's been a year since they've been out. But independent bookstores and used bookstores, you might not even see mainstream series, or you'll just see the generic ones that anybody who likes reading will read. But the good news there is that Books-A-Million is just in driving distance. Well, of course, so is the country bookstore. So I just had the urge, as soon as I started reading this, I had the urge to rebuy the series. So I had the first 3 books, but because Winter was in hardback and I just wanted to have all paperbacks, I'm going to wait until January, which is when Winter comes out. Although I don't know if I'll get it. I might just have to order it online or something. Well, even then, I'm still it's still my mom. Because she was the one who pointed out to me today that I'm an impulsive shopper. But anyway, I'm rambling. So I finished this book. I really enjoyed it. It was fun to be with these characters again. Sorry, I keep moving, but my side is kind of hurting. And I loved all the stories. Not all of them were. I only had a few favorites, but with the last story, I was kind of hoping. The last story is the wedding that people have mentioned there's a wedding in this collection. There's a wedding story, and I did have a couple in mind that I wanted to get married, but it was not them that got married. But I still really enjoyed this book, and I really enjoyed that story. That was great. And each story kind of tells you how the characters in the original series got to the places that they are at in the series. In fact, the wedding story is the one story that is set in the future. Is set after the events of the Lunar Chronicles. All the rest of the stories are pre-Lunar Chronicles. But they were all great. We got a little background on each of the characters. We learned about them. We found out how they ended up in the places they are at in the original series, like I said. And it was just really fun to be with these characters again. And some of them, we were seeing them when they were younger too, and it was really cool, kind of seeing their younger selves, to read about their younger selves, like Scarlet and Wolf and Carswell. So it was good. If you love the series and you have not read this, I definitely recommend at least checking it out. Even if you just borrow it from the library, because it's a good part of the collection. So that was one of the ones I actually finished, along with these two books, Freaks, Geeks, and Asperger's Syndrome by Luke. An User Guide to Adolescence. This by Luke Jackson, who at the time when he published this, he was only 13 years old, which already that is impressive. He was only 13 years old at the time when he wrote this. This is a nonfiction. I guess in a way it's kind of a autobiography. In a way, it's not an actual autobiography, but he's talking about his experience with having Asperger's and how to handle it, and tips and tricks and ways for other people to deal with it, and how Asperger's is not something you should look at negatively. He sees it as a gift. It just makes him unique and very special. And actually, we got this book because for a while we were considering, I still don't know for sure, but we were considering that I might have Asperger's. But like I said, I'm not entirely sure, because there are certain traits that Asperger's kids have, which, by the way, Asperger's is a high-functioning version of autism. I think that's I don't know if that's the best way to explain it. And if any of you that are watching this do actually have Asperger's syndrome, I apologize if I didn't explain it right. I don't mean to insult anybody. But I think this is a good starting point. There are differences, I believe there are differences between girls that have it and boys that have it. But this is a good place to start. It's easy to read, it's big print, it's very personable, and he's a very honest and positive kid. He shares all these stories that are like times when he's disappeared somewhere and he doesn't understand why his mom is freaking out and thinking that he's lost and panicking. He talks about how you should tell your kid, because it's better that they know rather than being in the dark, because you can't protect your kid forever. And it's not right. Obviously I actually agree with him on this. I think, because there's some, I have been told by specialists and doctors that, they, like, the most recent one we went to visit had told me, it's like, oh, I don't like to put labels on kids, and, like, you're a beautiful girl, you don't need to worry about that kind of stuff, essentially. And I was like, okay, I know that something's not right, and why would I want something to be wrong with me that I need to know? But I know something doesn't click right in the brain. And no, I'm not saying that I want something to be wrong with me, it's just, I know that something's not right. There's something, I have some kind, and I need it defined. I need to understand it, because it's better to understand. That way, you can, if there is something that's not right, you can help people understand better if they know why. but anyway, I'm not here to talk about me, I'm talking about the books I've read. So he talks about bullying and how to deal with that, and how he's experienced a lot of bullying because of that. He talks about his family and how he has one brother who has ADHD, and then he's another brother who does have actual autism, and how his sisters don't understand him all the time, and neither does his mom, and how he has, like, there's a section how people with Asperger's have obsessions and fixations on things, and just like he also has like little like cartoon drawings he makes of himself to kind of illustrate things. Like he has a picture of how I kind of marked up in the book, actually. He has pictures of himself, actual photographs. Where is it? Okay, here's the chapter on it. Like, this is how, how, like, he shows how with communication, it's like communicating with an alien. Okay, here's one of them. See how, like, certain sounds are a lot more annoying, like, are hard on those who have Asperger's syndrome, and they're, like, all their senses are kind of heightened. So this is just, it's a good starting point if, like, whether you're interested in the actual subject of understanding these kind of things, or if you know someone who has Asperger's or autism, this is a good book. And actually, I just recently learned that this kid, I think he's actually my age. So he's now 28, and I'm kind of curious what he's doing right now, how his life's going. There's a chapter where he talks about, dating and stuff, and I'm wondering if he followed his own tips for that. So that's the other book I finished. I also finished Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, like I said, and I did, and I'm not going to talk about this much because I talked about it a little bit on my Tome Topple wrap-up, and I think I'll probably at some point do a review of the book. Maybe on one of the days I'm off, I might film that. That was great. So I only really finished, well, no, I finished more than 3 books, but I do not have, because the other nonfiction book I read was The Hauntings of Williamsburg in Yorktown, Jamestown, Yorktown. That was a book I actually got from when my sister went to school in William and Mary, and of course, because I'm an impulsive shopper, as my mom pointed out, every time I go to a bookstore, I have to buy a book. So one of the times we visited her when she was away at college, I ended up buying that book. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore because I have my aunt who visited for Thanksgiving. She really likes history, especially the colonial Williamsburg history. So I ended up giving her my copy because, well, I'm probably not gonna read it again. But it's all basically the hauntings of the Virginia Triangle, where it's like, because so much history, so many things, so many wars happened, like the American Revolution, the Civil War. So a lot of people died in Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown, and it's like, so, there's so much history, and it was so interesting, and they gave you a little background on each of the places, and how, there's ghosts there, and how people have had, encounters with spirits, and where they've heard strange things and all that, but the book is not intending to try to get you to believe in the supernatural. It was just, a fun little read. So like I said, that's the other book I finished, but I do not have that book with me. Let me look at my So the other books I read, this month, Postern of Fate and Agatha Christie. That is basically, this elderly couple. They're trying to retire, but then the wife, while going through their books, finds a message in one of the children's books that said, what is her name? I can't remember. So and so did not. Mary Jordan did not die naturally. It was one of us. And it's basically her, despite her husband's hesitancy, she decides to go investigate. And it turns into this big, basically the book is her talking to all these people and asking about them, and there's moments where her life is put in danger. The elderly woman's life is put in danger. The husband, despite his reluctance, gets involved, and he, talks to all of his contacts, and this house has so much history, and it's not my favorite Agatha Christie book. It was interesting, but it was kind of boring. Because, there were some exciting moments, but it was basically the couple talking, and talking to other people. It wasn't, and the interesting parts were what they found out, the things that they found out. So maybe, so I gave that book 3 stars. I gave The Hauntings of Williamsburg, Yorktown, Jamestown 5 stars. I gave Stars Above 4 stars. I also finished, I gave Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire 5 stars. Freaks, Skinks, and Asperger's Syndrome, I gave 5 stars as well. And then the book I read right in the beginning of the month was Miss Houdini. And I gave that one 4 stars. And that is a historical fiction about Harry Houdini's wife. It goes back and forth between her romance with him and how they met, and how they struggled and everything, and then it goes into the present where Harry has already passed away, and the two of them him and his wife he told his wife he would contact her through a coded message because he was obsessed with the afterlife, and even though he doesn't believe in the supernatural, he wants to believe. So it's all about him. So she suspects that he is she's hoping that he's contacting her. So she's interacted with all these psychics, but so far nothing has been ever real and all that. And then she she discovers in these photographs by a famous photographer what looks to be the coded message. And so she contacts the photographer, and for some reason there is some kind of mysterious connection between the photographer and her husband. And that's what basically is about her investigating this and trying to piece it together, while at the same time you're learning about their romance and how they fell in love and everything. So I gave that, like I said, 4 stars. That was okay. It was a good book. I was very entertained. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like wow though. It wasn't wow for me, but it was definitely interesting. So those are all the books I read this month. And I have plenty of books I need to get to. So I hope. So what did you guys read this month? Did you finish all the books you wanted to read? Which ones were your favorite? Or did you not have any favorites this month? So I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye.